You're watching Keeping It Livable, and today we're celebrating Mother's Day by talking to some ladies who will share their perspectives on motherhood. Stay tuned.
As a mother, my schedule is very demanding, both at home and at work. But my children need to know they are my #1 priority, and that I believe in them and their ability to learn and succeed in school. Education goes beyond the classroom. I am my children's first and most important teacher. Education is an essential part of any livable community. Are you doing your part to educate your children?
This is Keeping It Livable, the program that highlights the people, places, and events in gorgeous Prince George's County. And now your host, Dr. Jacqueline Brown.
On Sunday, May 13th, people everywhere celebrated Mother's Day and honored women for their hard work and dedication to motherhood. Whether your plans involve taking part in an elaborate celebration or just spending an afternoon together on the front porch, your thoughts and expressions of appreciation were and are the most important gifts to give mothers. You know, being a parent truly is one of the most important jobs that one can ever have. And I know from my own experience that we can never really predict the challenges with which we're going to be confronted. On today's show, we have invited 4 moms to join us and share their perspectives on raising children and confronting the issues surrounding parenthood. For our first segment, I am joined by Mrs. Dorian Malloy, the mother of 3 children, ranging in ages from 7 years old to 17 years old, and Mrs. Whitney Montague, the mother of a very active 3.5-year-old daughter. Dorian and Whitney, welcome to Keeping It Livable.
Thank you.
Glad to have you ladies here. This is wonderful. Now, Dorian, I know you're the proud mother of 3 beautiful children. I have 3 also. We used to call them Eeny, Meeny, and Miny, and there ain't going to be no mo. But at any rate, I know you got 3 of them. And like many working mothers, you actually have a challenge because of the schedule and how you handle time. But I really asked you to come here today so that you can tell our viewers how you and your family have overcome the obstacles that you faced in raising your oldest son, who is living with autism. Can you begin by talking about the need for employer and family support?
Yes. Absolutely, then there's a great need for family and employer support for any working mom to be successful, whether or not they have a child who has disabilities. But when you have a child with disabilities, I think that need is even greater.
Right.
And so with family support and employer support, I've been able to manage to work a schedule that allows me to be a productive employee for the county, do something I love and enjoy, and still meet the needs of my family.
Right. Now that's really important. We happen to be the employer.
Yes, you do.
And that's a really important piece, because what you raised was the issue of, if I know my child is taken care of and my family's taken care of, you're going to get more out of me. And so what were some of the things that the county did in terms of helping you to get the support that you needed in terms of time?
Well, first, the county has a child care facility, and I was blessed to have all my children attend the Prince George's County Child Care Facility, where there was excellent care. I knew my children were well taken care of, and I also had the opportunity, when appropriate, to be able to visit the child care facility and see things such as the Halloween parade. It was right next door to the courthouse where I work.
Right.
So that was one of the first things in terms of early childhood that was a great support to me. As my son has gotten older, of course, the needs and challenges have changed.
Right.
And some of those needs and challenges have required me to be able to have more flexible work hours, maybe moving it up by half an hour, moving it back by half an hour to meet either transportation needs or other needs.
Right.
I also have had the opportunity to telecommute. The telecommuting has been allowing me to meet other needs as well, both for my child with disabilities, but also for my children who do not have disabilities but still need their mother.
Absolutely. I remember when we did a show, this was kind of recently, I kept saying we put more emphasis on taking care of our cars and making sure we have parking lots than we do with making sure parents can get to their children and have things like the daycare facilities and the access to them right there when they're working. Well, Whitney, I know you're the proud mother of a very active 3-year-old daughter. Whitney also happens to be my daughter, and in January of this year, you were selected to participate in a panel discussion on the Oprah Winfrey Show about the pros and cons of working full-time versus being a stay-at-home parent. I hate that versus stuff because they set up a fight that really doesn't exist. You know, it's not a versus. But anyway, what I need to know is if you could share with the viewers what led you to decide to stay at home while raising your daughter when you had a very flourishing career as an engineer.
Well, I had always wanted to stay at home once I began to have children. That was, it was just in my game plan from the beginning. And I was blessed to have a husband who was very supportive of that. Now, I do want to caveat, sometimes people think stay-at-home moms that we can be very strident about our position. We know, at least we should know, that it's a position of privilege, if you will.
Yes, it
you
is.
have to have a supportive partner, and you have to be in at least some minimal financial position. That doesn't mean we do not make sacrifices to stay at home. But why I wanted to stay at home, I have an African-American female child. I am not blessed to be in Prince George's County anymore. I'm in a school system that is under siege. And before I sent my child into this school system, if that's what I eventually do, I wanted to give her the strongest foundation possible. As an African-American child, there are a lot of messages out there that are very negative, you know, or at least not uplifting, not positive messages about what you can do, what your history is, what your strength is. And as a female, we all know that even the dolls now, they're sexualized, you know, hip huggers, halter tops, and these are toys for 4-year-olds. And before she went out there, I wanted her to have strength and pride and a very developed sense of herself as her own unique, strong, valuable being before she went out into the greater world, which I want her to do. I want her to have these other experiences, but I want her to also be strong in who she is before she goes out there.
Yeah, I think it's important for children to grow up with a sense of knowing where the world ends and they begin. And when and where they enter. I really think that that's a huge empowerment piece that parenting, there's nothing like parenting that does that. I mean, parenting is the thing that does it. Dorian, you often talk about the need, and we were just talking about that actually, of having an identity outside of being the parent of a disabled child. And I really, really can resonate with that as this one monochromatic label, and that's all there is. Can you tell us how you've been able to deal with that?
Well, I think that there's life before autism and there's life after. And that as a parent with a child with a disability, you have to first accept and move forward with the fact that you now have a different life. And along with that comes the supportive family and the supportive employer. And I am an attorney and I enjoy what I do for a living. And that gives me an opportunity at the time that I am at work to be Dorian Avery Malloy, not the parent of a disabled child, but an individual who has skills and opportunities to offer. But at the same time, my employer has been allowed me to have that identity by providing part-time employment when I have needed it, flexible work hours when I have needed it, and also has helped to make sure that the benefits that a family needs for children with disabilities are met. I think that that same need for an identity outside of being a mother or father is true for someone who even stays home, and maybe Whitney could better address that for you as well.
And so let's do that. I mean, you know, stay-at-home moms, you know, You know, I don't know how many bonbons you eat watching the television show. I know my granddaughter, I know there are no bonbon eating going on there. But stay-at-home moms, they have that misconception. Just give us a life in the day.
Well, I am an environmental engineer, and I approach motherhood, parenthood, the same way I approach running a small engineering firm. You have goals, you have an agenda, you have your 6-month review, you know, and you plan. And of course, just as anyone, when you're working your profession, you can love your profession. There are days when you're like, oh, I do not want to go into the office. And of course, there are days I do not want to go outside my bedroom door. That's saying that she hasn't crawled in the night before. But, you know, but I used that approach. I said that these are my goals. And I usually set about 6-month goals. And no, I'm not overscheduling my child. I'm not living my life through my child. These are just things. You know, the big goal could be I want her to know her ABCs. But it can be, as an environmental engineer, I take that with me. We're going to learn the ABCs. A is for albatross. You know, B is for barracuda. D is for this. We're going to go through that pond over there, and we're going to dredge for macroinvertebrates, and we're going to learn about those. We're going to kick some rocks and look under the mud. And so I get to do that, but I also will take her with me in events that connect her to the greater community. We will go to the homeless shelter, and we will do art projects with the other kids. We will, I started 2 moms clubs in the city I'm from. I now live in Little Rock, Arkansas. I started 2 moms clubs, which were about regaining yourself. You're not sitting there eating bonbons and watching Oprah, which is what I always hear. We eat bonbons and we watch Oprah.
No, you go
are out
on
there
Oprah.
and you're doing.
Right.
You know,
I couldn't resist. Okay,
you go out and you find yourself, and then as your child grows, you find that you do have more real-time, quantitative time for yourself to do things that are without the child there, but it strengthens you and brings you skills that you can come and share with her.
Right. And so both of you managed to maintain that sense of professional identity and to do it well, and then to deal with the parenting piece also. It's an amazing choreography. If there was something that you would say to people, just short, in 10, 15 seconds about being a whole and complete person while being a parent, what would it be, Dorian?
Make sure you find another interest that sustains you, whether it's volunteerism with your church, your community, or a job that you like. Make sure it's a good fit.
All right.
Use your resources. If it's your spouse, if it's your partner, if it's the grandparents, use them to find the me time and delight in being yourself, because that is a strength you bring to your child.
Yes, it is. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment of Keeping It Livable, but I sincerely want to thank our guests, and I'd like to put your attention to the services that are up on your screen right now, in case you have some questions about working with children that may have some challenges. The Department of Family Services, Mental Health and Disabilities Administration, and you see the number there, 301-985-3800, and for Maryland Relay patrons, 711. And we want to make sure that you take advantage of these services, and you too, you know, you have some blessed kids, because they got some great moms here, and this is a wonderful thing. Again, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us, and when we come back, I'm going to be joined by 2 additional mothers who will give us their perspectives on motherhood. So please stay tuned.
Hey, Zachary.
Ready?
You looking good?
odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 166. The odds say it's time to listen. To learn the signs of autism, visit autismspeaks.org.
What's the most important thing you can do to be successful? It's to stay in school. It's cool to be in school. Student attendance is critical. Everyone knows the important role it plays in getting good grades. If your child is absent, please send a written note stating the reason for the absence. It's helpful to contact the school directly to arrange for makeup assignments. Because of the new state assessments of student performance, attendance is more important than ever. Talk to your child about the importance of attendance. You know they'll be listening.
Yes, be cool, go to school.
We're back and continuing to celebrate Mother's Day by talking to a few ladies who are sharing their experiences on raising children. For this segment, I am joined by Mrs. Marita Golden, who is the mother of 2 sons. She is also an acclaimed author and lecturer with 12 published books to her credit. And Ms. Ivy Fair, the proud mom of 3 children ranging in ages from 8 years old to 18 years old. Marita and Ivy, welcome to Keeping It Livable.
Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here.
Thank you.
What I want to do, Marita, if I could, I want to start with you. Based on your experiences and your observations, you've really written extensively about the issues confronting young African American males. Would you tell us what you discovered?
Well, the book that you're referring to is a book called Saving Our Sons, which I wrote back in 1995. And it was written during the time that there was a lot of public discussion about the black male crisis, black on black crime, and the epidemic of violence in our community. Unfortunately, while we're not having as much of a public discussion today, many of the same realities persist. Inordinately high levels of violence, inordinately high levels of lack of success in the schools, family dysfunction. So we're facing many of the same problems. It's just that we're in a vastly different world. So that the answer to them is in some ways more difficult, but I think that we're also blessed with many more opportunities, particularly in our community, to deal with some answers to those problems.
Yeah, sometimes I forget we have a lot of the opportunities because sometimes the issues seem so
insurmountable,
overwhelming. Ivy, do you feel that today's society actually challenges male children more than female children?
I think when it comes to our African American males, no. Okay. I don't think there's for our children a set of standards. Our children are expected not to succeed. It's more of for failure. It's not much of a support system there. I agree with Marita in terms of that book was written in '95. This is 2007, and our children are still facing those very challenges that are written in that book, and nothing has changed.
Yeah. Well, this is, you know, both of you, I know, Marita, some of your publications deal specifically with the issues surrounding African American males. And I want to read a quote, actually, from your book. I want to read a quote from your book, Saving Our Sons, Raising Black Children in a Turbulent World, and then ask you to, both of you, to comment on how this problem affects our society today. Somewhere between the fact that black males are the prime victims of crime and violence and the false media-generated image that they are responsible as well for nearly all the crime in America lies the truth. But where and how do you find it?
Well, the truth is that in our community, we are disproportionately victims of violence.
Right.
And there's no way that we can get around that. Too many of our young men are either victims or perpetrators. But the reasons for that are unexamined. And as I said to you earlier before we started the interview, one of my wish lists, at the top of my wish list in this county, for example, would be for many of the mega churches, which are so abundantly blessed with prosperity, financial prosperity, with members who are professionals, who have just enormous networks and contacts, for them to take a much more targeted approach to dealing with the issue of our sons. There's so many issues that the Black church needs to address, and this is really near the top of them.
Yes. Ivy, you pointed out earlier that this was in 1995 and nothing's changed. And that quote probably supported what you were saying, that things haven't changed. But I always on the show want to talk about ideas and strategies about what could be done to make it better. So what would you suggest could be done in our community to improve the rates of success among our youth, both males and females, and to ensure that no one feels lost and left out?
Set higher standards, give them goals, the challenges, positive challenges, allow them. It's more with our children, and I've noticed it in my own, that it's more of a psychological. You have to let them know who they are. Whitney spoke of it earlier in terms of knowing your character, your strengths, who you are. Sometimes it heartens me when I hear kids say that they're lost. What are you being taught at home? What is being reiterated? In terms of school, we need more professionals. In terms of church, I agree. You need to do what you have to do to support. These just aren't my kids. This is what makes up a community.
That's right.
And I think that many of our young people are much more receptive to this than we think that
they are.
I mean, the problem is that we don't demand, one of the problems is we don't demand enough of our children. We don't set the high enough goals. And when these goals are set very high, when we engage them in conversations where they're asked to dream big, to think big, many, many times they will respond very, very positively to that. But in our schools, for example, teachers need to be given environments where they can actually do that. They need to be supported in the act of teaching, not just teaching to the test, but actual teaching.
And
Go ahead.
And have the resources to teach. A lot of these kids do not, and Marita, you and I, we've had this conversation. These kids do not have books. They should not be sharing books. They can't concentrate in school. It's too much going on in the classroom, and the teacher has to teach inadequately. So I agree once again.
You know, there's a point, I agree with both of you, but there's a little nuance here that I really think needs to be there when we start talking about high standards. I was raised in a completely segregated school system, all right? My generation, completely segregated, different superintendents, different everything. Schools were numbered from 100. That was for the colored schools, and the white schools were something totally separate, all right. But we had a very rich soup because the high standards were also completely supported by an unwavering belief in faith in my ability to meet the standards. Recently, there could almost be an argument made that without clear thought, high standards may end up being a euphemism or a word to cut you out, to screen, to start calling you out, because unless you tell those who set the standards that you must also believe unrelentingly that the kids can do it, and the kids can feel that belief and faith, then the standards actually become a way to just separate kids out and put them down the drain. And I don't know how you teach people to believe in a child.
As a parent, I've showed them.
Right. A parent can do it. How does the community do it?
Well, we need to start having discussions about this. And there's so many forums, you know. the church, sororities, fraternities.
Yes.
There's so many forums in our community where we could have these kinds of discussions, and our kids are just waiting for us to begin having those discussions.
I think they are, and you raised another point. You said the parents. On the topic that we're talking about now, we're talking about the art of parenting, which is different from just being the biological parent. And you talked about it's a community piece, Ivy, all right? And it is, which means that if I happen to have been born into a family where my biological parent or whoever I have really doesn't have the faith in me, where is the parenting of faith that comes from the community? Where do the other people in the community step forward? The man down the street, you know, Miss Johnson over at the other place. That's the piece that I don't see anymore, that we had that automatically within the segregated communities that we were growing up in during, a segregation de facto and de jure in this country. But since desegregation, I'm wondering where that is. Is it harder to do?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, most definitely for 1 minute, because people now, they're afraid to say anything to these kids because of the crime, because of statistics, because of what goes on in the community. I would love for someone to chastise my children verbally if you saw them, correct their behavior. But you're right, it's not allowed anymore.
Right.
But the whole culture has changed, so that many things that the community could do in the 50s and 60s, the community cannot do anymore. And what has happened, not only in our community, but in white communities as well, is our children are being raised by television, by movies, by music. And those values tend to be the dominant values. And we're really in a war, all of us are in a war to take our kids back from those values.
Well, you know, that takes us to another place. Ivy, you became a mother at a young age.
Very young age. It was a challenge.
Right. And you became a mother at a very young age, and there are a lot of people out there who became mothers at young age. So could you tell me a little bit about how you remain focused? I mean, how young were you?
I will not say how young.
All right.
But yes, I was young.
Right.
And that was something, and believe you me, my mother was very open. When you got ready to have sex, you let me know, but I neglected to do that. I made the decision. I graduated from high school. After graduating from high school, I relocated, and in a week or so, I'll be graduating from college.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Honor student.
Hallelujah, that's
last year.
wonderful.
And it's been a challenge, I think, in terms of my research
Ivy,
and where I've been. Psychology, Psi Beta, Hurston Wright Foundation. I'm a product of Marita. So it's just one of those things where you have to stay focused. And unlike I had support, and have had support, but when that support is no longer there, you have to use the resources that you only have, even if it's yourself, to do what you have to do to make sure that your children and their lives and that outcome is a successful one. It's challenging, believe me. But I stay focused. And I had to save a part of me for me, because if I did not, I would not have been last year the sole undergrad winner just in this area alone for my research. You know, I wouldn't be graduating next week with my honors not as an honor student solely, but in Psi Beta for psychology. I'm a pre-med student, but
I'm loving this.
You have to
okay, Dr. Fair.
And over the summer, I promised Marita I'd start writing. So it's just one of those things where, in Whitney, that was it. That me time. You have to enjoy being you. You have to not forget. I don't care if you've been married 10, 20 years or you had no husband at all in a house full of kids.
Right.
That was a decision and a choice you made, but you have to love you. And you have to love you, because with that, there's nothing.
Thank you so much. This was such a rich conversation. We're going to have to do this one again. Unfortunately, we are out of time for this edition of Keeping It Livable. I want to really thank all of my special guests, Ms. Dorian Malloy, Mrs. Whitney Montague, Mrs. Ivy Fair, and Mrs. Marita Golden. I certainly hope our show today has been informative for everyone, especially for the mothers watching. We as mothers share a unique bond and need to continue supporting each other and building stronger families. Please be sure to tune in for our next episode. I'm Dr. Jacqueline F. Brown, and I'll see you next time on Keeping It Livable. Have a wonderful Mother's Day every day.